This is really good actually. I can do yoga whilst doing vlogging. I'm trying to adjust myself to Sarah's height. Yoga.
If your yoga just involves moving your legs back and forth like this, it's pretty crap.
Yoga.
Right.
Today, we're back in Jason's kitchen doing some Jason's baking. As you well know, recently I've been posting on Sarah's Instagram how I've been doing a lot of baking because my son Damon loves eating bread. And how can we make healthy bread without too many preservatives, less sugar, less salt? The only way is
Everything
making
organic.
your own bread.
Yes. It's the healthiest option for a bread lover, and you can basically make a lot of variations of bread, but so far I've just made banana bread and plain bread, and it's super simple and super healthy.
Just
Can you
like
stop
me,
moving now?
doing yoga.
There's
whilst vlogging.
no yoga flow like this. Look like you're doing kung fu.
We can ask Tiffany. I'm tired. Well, from my experience of making bread for weeks now,
You have no idea.
I remember now. It's all very straightforward. The recipe is straightforward. The amount of flour, sugar and yeast is very straightforward. But from my experience, from the 3 weeks of baking bread, she's been baking for 4 months. I've been baking for just 3 weeks because I'm very smart, quick to learn. Sarah wants to say is that the type of flour you use is very important, and we've tried out various different types of organic produce, flour, yeast, sugar, what have you, and we think this is the best proportion mix. You know what I mean.
The flour I'm using is the organic strong white bread flour by Marriages the Master Millers. This flour says it's bread machine friendly. Technically you can make bread with any flour, but because I'm an amateur, so I read the back to make sure it's bread machine friendly because I'm using a bread machine, and this one is. Some flours say strong. It means that it's got a higher density and more protein. It means your bread might come out a bit firmer. So this is where the tricky part is. So this is the bread machine I'm using. It's a Japanese brand, Zoji Wushi, and I bought it on HKTV Mall. Okay, the reason why I bought this particular machine, 2 reasons. The price point was super friendly, and also size-wise, it's actually not that big compared to the other bread machines. Because there's not a lot of space at home, so I didn't want a massive bread machine, and this is a really cute size. This was $1,400, and if you buy it on Thursdays or if you have a VIP code on HKTV Mall, you get an extra 5% off. So I bought it with extra 5% off. There's actually a lot of like baking variations. You can make firmer bread, you can make French bread, you can make pizza dough, you can even make pasta or like make your own jam. But that's too technical for me. I'm just going to stick with making basic bread for Damon. That's my only purpose for this machine so far.
The bread maker comes with an instruction manual, a recipe for how to make bread. So after some trial and error, we've come up with a formula where we use certain ingredients with a certain recipe. So all you have to do is stick to our way.
So all bread machines, their instructions will tell you to follow a particular order. So whatever order they list out the ingredients, you have to put the ingredients into the bread maker in that particular order. That's very important, and it goes for all bread machines. In this particular order: water, bread flour, all-purpose flour, sugar, dry milk, salt, butter, and active dry yeast. So in the recipe, it tells you to use 2 cups of this flour, but after trial and error, 1 cup and 3/4 is the best proportion if you're using strong white bread flour. So the recipe tells us to use 1.5 tablespoons of sugar, but I think that's a little bit too much sugar. So I used just under 1 tablespoon of sugar, which is perfectly fine too. So in the recipe, it tells you to use dry milk, which is basically milk powder or fortified milk. For Damon's bread, I use his formula, which is healthier, and it works just as well. So once again, the recipe tells me to use 1 tablespoon of salt, but I think it's a little bit too much salt, so I reduced the amount of salt to maybe 1/3 of a tablespoon.
To make our bread even healthier, we've gone for the unsalted pure New Zealand butter by Anchor. And when you add the butter to the bread, Sarah says it's okay to add a little bit more, just a little bit more. Why? If you think about a loaf of bread, it's about 5 or 6 slices. Each time Damon eats bread for lunch or for dinner, he has not even 1 slice. So that 1 slice of bread probably has just a little teensy bit of butter. And experts say babies, girl or boy, they need a bit of fat to keep their plumpness. So a little bit of butter, it's okay.
If you guys remember, Jason actually went to buy yeast, and this is the yeast he bought. Has a bread machine at the back, suitable for bread machines. We're still using the yeast. It comes in little sachets, and each time we use 1 teaspoon. So this is good for 1 sachet is good for actually 2 or 3 times. So with all the recipes I've seen, you actually put the yeast last, and you have to put it in the middle of all your ingredients and make sure that it stays dry, because once the yeast gets wet, it gets activated, and then it might affect the quality of your bread. So put the yeast inside, and then just pop the whole thing in the bread machine, and it'll just do wonders itself. So you can actually set a timer. Let's say if you want fresh bread at like 7:30 in the morning, you can set a timer. Your bread will be ready 7:30 tomorrow morning. But I've noticed that particular function doesn't produce the best results. So I found out the quick baking function is actually pretty good. It takes 2 hours and the bread turns out really nice and fluffy. So I'm going to use the quick bake function. It'll be ready in 2 hours, and then we'll just serve the bread in the morning.
Basically, the soft bread recipe plus the quick bake setting, 2 hours. Soft, fluffy bread in a jiffy.
So I have friends that have other bread machines, and they found their own kind of method and recipe to baking the perfect bread. This is my personal one, and I've opted to use the most organic ingredients I can find. I know there are other brands of flours which you can use, and it can make the bread a lot fluffier, like ones you buy from the shop.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether they're just as healthy. I'm not sure. They might be, but yeah, I'm a sucker for the word organic.
No, there is no perfect way to do it. If your way works, then at least we know Damon's eating healthy ingredients. So I'm sure there are healthier, even better ways, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, there's a recipe that my friend shared with me. It was really delicious, but then I realized there was so much condensed milk in the bread.
Yeah, a lot of butter, sugar.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe not. It smells so good, so good. It really smells good. No
It's
joke.
actually very late now. We started filming at 10:30, 11. Now it's midnight, 1 o'clock.
But it smells so good. It'd be a really good pre-sleep snack.
So here we have it. Jason's kitchen with Jason's bread. Take my word for it, it's soft and fluffy in the middle.